This area right here. It gives it a bit of attitude. Shrug the shoulders. What's up, guys? Jordan from Bennett's Customs. We are back on another episode. Might look a little bit unfamiliar here. It's because I am home in Canada, which is incredible. Spending a lot of time with family. As you can see behind us, we have a 1930 Ford Model A Tudor sedan. This is beautiful, restored, bone stock car. We want to spice it up a little bit, and you may notice some stuff here. What we're going to do on this episode is just give it a little bit of jazz. Take it from an old man car to still slightly old man car, but with a little bit more style. You might have to drive it without your shirt tucked in once. Let's get into the video. Biggest thing that's going to make quite a bit of an impact is a set of wheels. And what we have here is a set of 750/16 Firestones and a set of 600/16 Columbia Deluxe, and they are fitted to Kelsey Hayes bent spoke 1935 wires. And if anyone is familiar with the Kelsey Hayes wheels, they are quite rare, and it is quite neat to be able to put these onto this car. And over here we have a leaf spring for the front, which has the reverse eye. So these are from Speedway, and the reverse eye, if you guys are familiar with that, the direction of the leaf spring goes the opposite way. So rather than it being this way and coming down, which is originally what is on the car now, we are going to put a flipped one, which essentially will give us about 1 inch to 1.5 inch drop in the front. On the back side, we have a Model T leaf spring, and I'll show you the difference when we go to take out the Model A one, and you can see, but these are a really nice spring to be able to put in. They will essentially lower it about 4 inches all up. This one is not reversed, but you've noticed in the videos of my Roadster in the past, I did do a Model T spring, and then I formed this and flipped it around. Very easy to do yourself if you want to. It takes a little bit of work, but you can definitely bend them how you want. We're pretty limited on tools. We're obviously not in the workshop, but that is definitely the fun part about it. So it's called Big and Little, so it gives it a bit of attitude. Shrug the shoulders. You know, a bit tough. You might have to drive it without your shirt tucked in once. Stalled it, Russ. So before we get started, I'm going to grab our Lufkin Imperial tape measure. Nothing metric about this one, I tell you. From the ground to the top of the fender, and we are at 32.5 inches to the inside lip. On the rear, 33 3/4. Okay, so what I'd like to do first, we're gonna lift up. Hey, Bubby, did you bonk your head? Did you bonk your head? Are you helping Dad today? Okay, well, we're gonna lower this puppy and we're gonna put it on some cool wheels. Yeah, I know, Papa says, oh, that's weird. I'm gonna get our floor jack under here. My new purchase from Princess Auto. For no one who knows what it is, it's basically like a Bunnings on steroids. It's got a surplus aisle, a hydraulics aisle, a farm aisle. Off it goes. They're sort of a transverse leaf setup. They go this way rather than a parallel setup that goes to your, like a traditional kind of car or a truck where you'd have them running parallel with your leaf springs. This one goes across. It was kind of a crazy design, but it also helped articulate a lot. So when these guys are using these for farm rigs, which predominantly they were, and to get to church on Sunday, you know, they could get down a lot of those rough roads that obviously weren't sealed like they are today. There's 4 bolts that hold the leaf spring in. I'm gonna loosen those. We're gonna drop this whole thing down, and then we're gonna use a really cool little handmade spring spreader to take a bit of the pressure off so we can pull those shackles out.
You got me acting out. You, all tenderness is out the window. What you do to me when the cold bites blue is straight cruel. Or it has to be you leaving writings on the wall. You promised me roses and hungry haze, but
A big thing too, before you start this process, is do yourself a favor and spray all the nuts and bolts that you plan on removing with a bit of penetrating fluid, because it will help you so much the day you want to do it. So if you let it sit for 24 hours, obviously it's going to help break down any of that rust that's in between the nut and the threads of the bolt. Oh my gosh, stop it. Oh yeah, now we're talking.
Dry a bit to your sweet caress. I can't weep no more. Oh, willow trees have died and the last horn lark will fly. Got me feeling dusty. Got me feeling dusty. Please tell me it's a dream. Worst kind you've ever dreamed. Oh, I don't wanna lay another night. Don't wanna walk another mile. I just can't. So please don't make me do it, 'cause I got too much to lose.
All right, so now what we need to do is disconnect. I'm going to try and leave all the brakes and everything hooked up. We're just going to try and remove the leaf spring itself. So I just need to pick away at trying to get the little split pins that are in there out, and then we can remove it. And this is the one that we've obviously taken out. Still a great pack to save and use. There is definitely a bit of pitting on it, but with a bit of a wire wheel, a bit of rust treatment or a sandblaster, we could, we could breathe some new life into this leaf spring again. I got the new one in, the new bushings installed. I did, however, use the original U-bolts, not the aftermarket ones that you tend to see like these. They're not greasable. They just don't really have the same design that Henry Ford did. And you guys know I don't really like a whole lot of aftermarket parts, so I try and use the genuine stuff where I can. And I've just cycled it a few times with the floor jack, making sure we have no binding. The biggest thing when you are putting one in, you want to make sure that the pin on the top of your leaf spring is located in the hole. If it's off to the side, that's going to throw all your geometry off, and it just, you definitely won't ride very well. You'll have a bit of a dog. I'm just going to put a few split pins in our castellated nuts on the back of the shackles. Always make sure you put those on. And then we do have the little grease fittings on the front so we can pump those full of grease. Once that's done, wheels are on, pull the jack stands out, and we're going to see how much lower it is in the front of this. Give it the old jump test. Make sure she's going to be good. We just did a quick measurement and we've lowered it by 3 inches. Now, could we put a drop axle in and eliminate this whole gap? Most definitely. I think it would be really cool if we had the whole front of the car right down over top of this tire. We are at 33 1/4. Oh. What did I say before? 33 1/4, right? So now we are at 34 inches on the dot. So we've come up 3/4 of an inch. This area right here, this is the big void. There's a lot of room in here. We want to eliminate that. So by utilizing that Model T spring, hopefully we're going to get it down that 4 inches or 3.5, which is going to put us right over top of the tire, which is exactly where we want to be. But you can just tell how drastic the difference is when you go to swap your tires around. It's like when you have a nice outfit, if you got a nice tuxedo on and you're wearing a pair of New Balances to go dancing.
What happened to your feet?
These are my 407s.
Oh, they're 407s. Can I see them?
These offer a lot of support.
Right.
Whoa, come on!
It's definitely not going to look as good as if you got a nice slick Paris of, what would you call them? What would you guys wear? What do you old fellas wear?
Winkle pickers.
Winkle pickers. Don't even know what those are, but I would assume they're the nice little pointed ones. All right, so we're working on the back. We've removed our tires. I've removed the U-bolts that hold the spring in. And what I'd like to try and do is lower the differential so that it pops the spring out of the top. The old wiggle test seems okay. Okay, so we are now out. What I need to do is get the spring off the diff. And these springs have a lot of tension under them. So we need to use what is called a spring spreader. And it's a bar with 2 plates, and I'll show you now. And that's going to help us take a bit of the pressure off so that we can actually get the shackles removed. Okay, so this here is essentially a homemade version. We have threaded rod on one side with a nut, and once that nut is either loosened or tightened, is going to vary the distance of this. Once it's put into place, we can put a bit of tension on it, and that way we'll be able to pop the shackles off. So I'm just going to jump under there and measure it to make sure it is going to work. And the reason for the kick in this part here is so that it clears the top of the differential. Okay, so you can see how it is set up. under here, and that is going to allow to take a bit of the pressure off. All right, so we got our leaf spring out, and you can see how much tension is on this bad boy. So we are going to release it, and I'm going to show you how much it's going to come back. All right, so spring spreader's off. You can see how much that's pulled it in. And now I'll give you an example of the spring that we're gonna put in. So this is a 1928 to 31 rear Model A spring. You can see the shape of it. Now here is a drastic difference. This is a 26 to 27 Model T frame. So it's an earlier one. They have a beautiful little curve through here. They're a really nice looking spring, but you can see the massive difference that we're going to be running with. So biggest thing between these is these are 2¼ inches wide, whereas the Model T springs are only 2 inches wide. So you need to make sure when you go to put it up into the cross member itself that you need to use a wedge off one of these to help situate where it's going to go. Otherwise, you're going to have an issue with getting it to sit into place. So usually what I do is I'll pop either one of these two off and I'll trim them so I have a little packer. That packer will then sit on the top of here, and then when you go to put it into your cross member, it'll find a home right away and the hole will go directly where it's supposed to go. That way the spring can't come back with that 1/4 inch difference. Again, the 1/4 inch difference needs to be worked where you're going to put your eyelets as well. So a lot of guys will use like a press style bolt and kind of bushing that will go into them, and that will compensate. You use the 2¼ inch one, your shackle, everything lines up, and because it is pressed into the 2-inch spring or the eyelet, they will usually stay there. So we're going to try and experiment a little bit with what we can do, but obviously you can see the massive difference between the two. So, you know, even just looking at this, we know that we are going to drop it a considerable amount in the back using this Model T spring.
All the jag won't roll on. City lights will blind your eyes. Don't look twice, won't go on.
I've replaced the bushings because the ones that were in the differential were obviously very poor and not really, you know, obviously usable again. I've mentioned before I love to use stock pieces, but unfortunately from the shape of the old ones, we are utilizing a aftermarket U-bolt with bushings that Hudson is now throwing out of the car. Yeah, and So I got it all sorted out. We got our new bushings in there. And what I need to do is use our spreader again. We're gonna put it in here. We're gonna open this right up so that we can get it up on top of the differential and get our U-bolts to go through. Once that's on and locked into place, I need to make little spacers. So I'm just utilizing one of these leaf springs. I'll jump over onto the vise. I've marked them out at 1 inch, and I'm gonna do 3 per side, and they're gonna sit right underneath our piece where the U-bolts will come through. So those shims will take up the distance we need in order to make sure it is clamped into place properly. All right, so what's happened is the Model T spring didn't work. Unsure if there's a couple different sizes of Model T spring, being that that Model T spring was actually an aftermarket one from Speedway. Maybe it was like a narrower one, because I had that spring spreader spread as far as it could go with that Model T spring, and we were still nearly 6 to 7 inches off. So there was no way that we were gonna get it into place. Even if it was a single leaf and we flattened it out, I don't think it would have reached. So we removed 5 of the leaf springs. I'm adding a few packers on the bottom side again, so we're not gaining or adding that height. Mike, my brother, has just got one side on and bolted into place. So now we have one shackle in, and I'm gonna get back under there with the wrench to open up that spring spreader in order to go about another 2 inches before we can get the shackle in. Then we're gonna put it all back together, put it back on the wheels, drop it down, and see how much we've lowered it. I'm hoping it's around 2 inches, but ultimately it's not gonna be the 4 inches that I really desired. So it's, yeah, kind of a bit of trials and tribulations, and we've probably had more losses than wins, but we're gonna get back in. There's an epic car show tonight that we're all gonna pack in with the kids, and that'll be the big win for the whole thing. So that'll be, it's maiden voyage. Really excited about it. So we're gonna jump back under here and get it into place.
About 1.5 inches.
That's how much we still need to go, even like that.
Could be maxing that.
Like that.
Let me see the hammer.
Oh yeah. Well, that was a pain in the butt. Trying to get that spring back into place. Usually I do it as a single and I run some ready rod through it and then I bring them all down. We're a bit limited on what we had for tools and such, so we obviously just did what we could with what we had, and it finally worked out. We were able to use 2 2x4s, kind of wedge the shackles, and we got it on. So this is kind of moment of truth. Really gonna see how much we lowered it and whether or not it made a difference. Oh, I was gonna say, why is it so high in the air? What do you guys think? Do you like it? Yeah. Well, it fought me the entire way, from the front leaf spring not really being the correct one, to our shackles in the front that we had to kind of mismatch some, you know, aftermarket stuff with some early stuff, drill out the bushings, the nylon ones that you get, but everything worked out really well. It's nice and tight. Back section, super happy that we did even try and tackle it, because we found out that those shackles were so bad. One actually had a crack in it, which would have led to, you know, not the greatest ride, and if it did break, it would have been pretty bad. So really happy that we replaced all the bushings and the shackles in the back, put those Pete and Jake's ones in from SoCal again. Thank you guys. But this was really fun to actually just kind of do with Dad, my brother, Nigel, had all the kids around, all the families here. It is a long weekend, and it's been really fun just being with the family and kind of being able to tackle this. Probably took a little bit longer than anticipated, but it worked out really well. The Model T spring, obviously, you know, not working. I'm going to look into that one. Hopefully I'll be able to answer a few comments once I find out why. If we have a tape measure, is there a tape measure around? So we had 33.5, I believe. And now we are down to 31 3/4. So we dropped it down that couple inches that we were trying to do. All right, well, there we have it. All finished off. We got the whole family in the last shot. It was super fun to be able to go around the block with the kids and just show it riding. So, you know, with some simple hand tools, you can do this in your driveway as well. You definitely saw a bit of a struggle with the leaf springs, but we sort of overcome what we could do with what we had. And we got that desired couple inches in the front and a couple inches in the rear, and then putting on the 600s on the front and the 750s on the back made a massive difference, and it's just, you know, overall it's just changed the whole appearance of the car. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit notifications, and we will see you next week on Bennett's Customs. Say bye, guys. Bye.